Welcome back to the Blindsiders. I'm Ben, and I am joined by Dylan and Brian, who I just noticed the names are backwards, but that's fine. And we are here to talk about
Face Off.
There we go. We are here to talk about the premiere of Survivor 44, as Jeff did it on the beach. We got a little bit of a symmetrical season. Wild episode. Multiple people got looked at by medical, including our first person out of the game was a medevac, and a tribal council where somebody gets idled out with the idol that they technically found with one vote. So we have a lot to get through here.
Yeah.
We have a lot to get through, but I don't know how much we really have to dig in, because a lot of this episode was just kind of it was like trauma porn. It was like very uncomfortable.
Yeah, the 44 was actually how many times the doctor was going to appear in this episode, not just the number of the season.
Nice.
Very violent season so far. I'm like, all right, I like football. You know, I've watched a lot of UFC. I think in context, like, I'm fine with blood, but like on Survivor, for whatever reason, just made me like really squeamish. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting soft in my old age. I don't know.
Bruce is hello everyone, by the way. Welcome back. Thank you for listening. It's great to be here. Yeah, 30 and thriving in the year 2023. So thank you for returning. Bruce getting injured. That was brutal. Anything like with the head, you know, the dude just full on got CTE 30 seconds into the episode. And that was really tough to watch. Anything with the head always makes me nervous. Matthew free soloing that rock for no reason. I don't feel as bad. Obviously that was brutal, and also like anytime you ever fall down rocks, it always hurts the most. Obviously, I don't know why he just decided to climb that out of nowhere. I also completely forgot that was in the trailer for the season 2. And so when that happened, I thought that we had just lost another one.
Yeah.
The med team, the villain and the stars of this episode.
Yeah, you know, people get on Survivor and they think they're Aussie all of a sudden. Sometimes they find out quickly they're not Aussie.
No, that's the thing, right? This season doesn't seem more dangerous than other previous seasons so far. It just seems like people are more reckless.
Yeah, I mean, I literally said to Jenny, the first time he dove, he like very narrowly missed the log. I was like, you can't be diving like that. And then like just 2 seconds later, it smashes his head. It's like, yeah, because that will happen. And then, of course, we got like slow motion blood dripping everywhere. That was certainly something.
And narratively too, they don't even like talk about how like, oh, it's a tougher season, so we're getting dehydrated quicker, we're getting tired quicker, and you know the challenges are harder. It just really seems like these people are just getting the short end of the stick with a lot of these. I'm gonna pull up my trusty chart of who Brandon that that was unfortunate, and we'll talk about how, at least in my eyes, he had a very roller coaster episode and somehow managed to come out pretty good in the end. But having basically 2 of your top guys, one from falling off the side of like a rock cliff and the other just from being dehydrated 3 days in, that's very tough. If you would have told me that the Ratu tribe was going to be the one going to tribal at the beginning of the episode, I would have been very surprised.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like what your point was that this wasn't really like a selling point, I guess, of the location or of like the theme, right? Like with Koh Rong, which is probably the like closest comparison point to something like this, it was like pretty well established that Cambodia was a hellscape and they should never go back there again. So like that was a little bit more clear of like, oh, this location is just like more brutal than previous locations have been historically. It's a lot of this is just kind of coming out of nowhere. And I know like they have Jeff has done some preseason press hyping up the season, and like one of his like hype things or phrases for the season is like, so many people get hurt or see medical, and I'm like, why is this a hype point for this season? Because like Brian said, this is not really fun to watch. Like it's not like nice when the first elimination of the season is a medevac. It's only happened, I think, 2 times previously in Survivor, and it's just not like particularly engaging. You just kind of feel like somebody is losing their chance at the game for no reason, and like you're basically seeing their dreams get crushed when they really did like basically nothing wrong. Like they didn't like do something to get voted out or anything like that. And you also barely know them, so like you're kind of like similar to how Bruce's tribe was. You're like awkwardly being like, "Oh, sorry, Bruce, we love you," and you're like, "But we don't really know you. We've known you for like 18 hours."
Yeah, don't worry, Bruce. One of us will win the million for you.
Yeah,
I think it sucks. It sucks worse too when it's somebody that's older. Like Bruce is 46. It's just at least with a younger person. Obviously, I'm sure they love Survivor, but I imagine somebody that's 46 that's getting on now has most likely been trying to get on for upwards of probably at least like 10, 15 years. That's seemingly how the way goes. I think that adds an extra element of how bad I feel. And like I said, his injury was brutal. Anything with the head is so scary, especially these days with what we know about concussions and all that. That was really tough to watch.
Yeah, it just sucks, and especially like the skin's like so thin on like your head that it's just gonna bleed so much. Like even if you just like, and not that it didn't look like it looked like he took a chunk out of his own head, which was horrific in its own right. But just like anything there is gonna be tough.
Yeah. So I guess we could move on a little bit from that and talk about what we all came here for, which is an island full of random advantages and trinkets.
I can't even begin to describe to you how the one that like Lauren got works. I don't understand that one. Yeah, no, like I said in our text chat, we had thought maybe they would dull down on the advantages and the convolutedness of it all. But they seemingly just doubled down on it by introducing completely new advantages for the viewer to try to understand new twists that I don't think necessarily worked. Like the whole birdcage thing. It's just a different version of other things they've done in the past, but and the players still not learning not to talk about them or it's just it's messy. Both from a production side and from a player side, but it is what it is. I mean, I guess we're in for another season of it, especially if we're getting it right away. The first episode, I feel like we're going to be getting this for another couple of weeks of just these things randomly popping up and no one understanding how they work.
Yeah, and not to be like, I don't know, the Survivor equivalent of someone who spends 3 weeks studying abroad, but I've been watching Australian Survivor this season, and it's very like, I don't know how to put it. It's pretty normal. Idols are just in the jungle and you can find them. And it's like, yeah, this is better. They had it right. Like this was the optimal way to do these advantages and idols, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, the cage thing to me feels like they're still playing Goldilocks with this idea of like, oh, we want it to be like easier for people to get caught or be known to have idols. But the way we've been doing it, it's kind of been too easy with like the secret phrases or like the beads thing, where like basically like you kind of have to give away that you have an idol at some point. Whereas this is like you're going to eventually know that the idol was found, but not necessarily by who. Obviously, in this episode, Brandon ends up deciding to just announce to the entire tribe that he found the key, surely. Which we'll get to. But that necessarily doesn't have to be the case. You could find the key in secret the way you would find an idol, and then just like in the middle of the night sneak out and take it. And then people would have the knowledge the next morning that the idol was found, but not by who, which I guess could lead to some fun paranoia if it actually plays out that way. But So I kind of see where they're going, but it definitely does feel unnecessary.
And also not to just keep repeating things that we've said before too, but I think it makes for much more compelling television to get the scenario you just said of having them sneak out of camp in the middle of the night trying to open the birdcage. It's so much more interesting than just having someone right away just tell the team, hey, I found this, just because you think that it'll be easier in the end. It just it's not the smarter play. I've as I've said, I'm such pro not talking about your advantages and your idols. So I don't think it's the smarter play unless like a very particular situation arises. But like I said, it's not as entertaining television. Even in the back end of like the tribal we got, there obviously was the chaos that happened, but I still think obviously somebody would have seen the cage was empty eventually. They just wouldn't have known who. So you could still get the chaos from that side. It's boring to me in that sense, and I think it's just something that we keep getting now, past couple seasons and beyond, and it kind of stinks. I mean, there's nothing you can do about just the human reaction to doing that, but I do wish that people would start playing a little differently.
Yeah, and like I think with the fake amulet, they kind of want people to like take the idol and then lock it back up, and like so everyone's like, oh, did anyone take it? Who knows? That being said, like finding the key is pretty much the same thing as finding an idol, right? Because you just hang on to the key, and then if you like, oh shit, I think I'm the one who's getting voted for, then you just go and get the idol, whenever you need it. I guess you have to know your people are coming for you, but like I don't know. You don't have to take it immediately, right?
Well, here's the thing. We know from like a meta perspective that it's not allowed to steal somebody's idol, right? Like if you can go through somebody's bag and find out they have an idol, but you can't take it. Like once you've found an idol, that's yours unless you willingly give it up. But we don't really know if that's the same to the key, right? Like, because is the key an idol or an advantage? It's not really, right? So like maybe there's like a way that you could actually steal somebody's key. I mean, basically what happens in this episode is like, Maddie doesn't get her key stolen by Brandon, but like she kind of passes it off to Brandon to be the one to officially open the cage, and he's the one who officially claims the idol out of the cage. So like that kind of creates a little bit of a little bit more confusion about who actually like owns the right to the idol.
Also, in fairness to them, they don't know it's an idol. My mistake there. So my plan would not work.
Yeah.
I guess now that I was going to say, now that we're talking about it too, that scenario, I still think, like I said, Maddie was the one trying to play that correctly. And I also think another interesting dynamic that was there too, at least from the viewer side, is that I never would have suspected Maddie and Brandon working together. And so that was something else that would have been really, really interesting that I feel like they were kind of robbed of. She's definitely a player that I thought was not playing as bad as someone as you would expect to be the first like real vote out. So that kind of stunk. Because I think that's another element of that too, is that I think that having two people work together that the tribe probably wouldn't have suspected would have been more interesting too. And like you said, they didn't know it was an idol at that point, but even then, like it's so early in the game, you kind of don't really have a whole lot to lose with a lot to gain at that point. Especially if nobody in the end knows who it is, unless one other person. I mean, it's not like they're going to just immediately suspect you because they don't know you or your game style at that point. It just stinks. But like I said, it's so tough to judge too. Like I feel like in that scenario, I would think that, and then I get there and I'm immediately like I either like forget I saw the key or I immediately tell someone else.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's not, because like this didn't work out perfectly. There are two more tribes where it might work out a little bit better. But we do kind of get the dramatic irony of Maddie is going to end up going home at the end of the episode at the hands of the idol that she technically was responsible for finding with one vote. So like that's like that's kind of a next level face plant that we usually don't get from an episode 1 of Survivor. Like usually in an episode 1, you get somebody kind of just taken out because they're a social outcast or because they like play like especially egregious. Whereas here, like Maddie made like kind of one, somewhat of a blunder by not like, putting her foot down to be the one to like actually open the cage and take it. But like, it's kind of a minuscule thing that just ends up coming back to bite her.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like you guys said, she didn't seem to be a terrible player. Just got in an unfortunate situation. I was surprised that he targeted Brandon at all, considering what he's kind of brought to the team, which is, he did the first challenge and that probably wiped him out. And then like a day or two later, he was a big part of why they got the chest up there. And, he almost got himself medevaced for the team. And then to immediately turn around and be like, yeah, we got to get this guy out is a choice, to be sure.
I guess we can save that vote for the end, but I think I do think it plays into too that I don't think the physical challenges are as big a threat to people anymore. It's just, like we saw 2 seasons ago with Jonathan, the player that's absolutely dominating these every excuse me, every 3 days, seemingly not a threat to anybody in the end. So maybe that's just the thought process now is just start getting the bulky people out early. I mean, look at Bruce's tribe, the Tika. I never would. I for sure thought Tika was going to be there in tribal again if they had no chance in that challenge, and they were fine. I just don't think it's the challenges also maybe just aren't as physically demanding anymore, given that Brandon passed out.
I don't know.
First
that
one.
Looked tough.
It did look tough. I also was with the coconuts. I spoke way too soon when I said that seemed way too easy. Very much after watching them do that. No, that was much harder. I still think they made the right choice, given the puzzle to the other team, because you never know. You didn't know what the puzzle was, but still, man, that looked rough. Even rougher than like the water one. I don't remember if that was last season or the 2 seasons ago. I think that was the hardest like challenge we've seen in that scenario so far. That was, I guess, I underestimated how much coconuts weigh.
Yeah, no, I was also thinking like, thank God I wasn't in this position because I know I'd have been like, I can fucking do that. Yeah, and then about 30 minutes later, just be gasping for air and sweating, horribly. It would have been a bad look.
Yeah, I mean, doing physical labor for 4 hours straight, like to me, I'm not signing up for that. I'd definitely take my chance in the puzzle. But different strokes. And the puzzle I don't think seemed that bad.
No. They didn't know what the puzzle. They didn't know what the puzzle was.
Sure, you don't know what the puzzle is, right?
It's funny. It's funny. Also, is like I think that was probably the harder the physical challenge you've seen in that scenario, and I think that was probably also maybe more one of the easier puzzles that they've gotten recently too. So
I agree.
This is tough. I don't know. In the sun and everything, I don't know. It was. I still think. Look. The one way to guarantee that you're not voted out of Survivor is to not be a tribal council. So I think in the pre-merge, at least like at the very beginning, you got to like at least try to position your tribes to be, able to win challenges.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely like lean towards agreeing, especially like since this kind of intentional metzing idea hasn't really ever played out correctly, like when people have like supposed to do it after obviously Philippines, when we had the original metzing do it unintentionally. So yeah, I guess like maybe we just have to move on from that idea as like it was neat on paper, but no, I think just having more allies at the merge in theory is just it's just better. Maybe we're just overthinking Survivor, and like having people is good and not having people is bad.
Yeah, I think maybe during that era, like the intentional matching works. I don't think it works. I don't even know 100% what strategy does work in the modern day of Survivor. We've had like 3 very different winners in the 3 seasons of this reboot of Survivor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the common thread between the 3 would be just like lowered threat level and people kind of underestimating them until the very end. So that's probably, I guess, the way to play is just like don't make waves until you have to, and sometimes don't make waves until the final tribal council, where you pretended like you made waves the entire time and surprised everybody. So that's, I guess that's probably the play in this modern era.
It's tough though, because if you get the player that does do all that and still wins, then they're catapulted up towards like the top of in terms of winners rankings, especially now in the current atmosphere, like you just said. If somebody can manage to do that, I think it'd be a great thing, both obviously for some sort of change in the game dynamic, but also like as a viewer, I think that would be it'd just be nice to have a change. I think like probably my biggest takeaway, I like the episode overall. I really don't have that much to complain about other than the advantages we just said. But it's still the one of the few complaints I do have kind of carrying over from last season, even before, is like which was my fear, is that I was worried the repetitiveness is eventually going to start getting stale, and that is the one thing I felt here. It seemed like we were almost just like going through the same motions that we've been going through the past like 2 seasons for like the season opener, 3 seasons really. We're just replacing the faces. And when I texted you guys earlier in the week too, like I just started watching Pearl Islands, and it's just crazy how much different of a game it was back then. Like half the first episode is spent of them running around the village trying to figure things out, and it's just, they don't have to do that every season, but it would just be really nice to get that change again. Like you set up a fake ass village in Fiji and just hire a bunch of actors. I don't care. Just make it look different in some sense. And it's a very real fear of mine now, like going forward, that and I know obviously 44 and 43 were shot back to back, and that's expected, the similarities there, but I am like getting really nervous that they're becoming a little too comfortable, because it seems like viewership is up again, that they're just coming a little too comfortable on that side of things, and it is starting to feel a little stale to me, regardless of the personalities that they're throwing in there. I don't think that there's any strong enough personalities right now, at least, that can like carry that and just add on like a whole different element of like, wow, I'm just watching because this person's very entertaining. I don't know if they've had that person in a long time, but they definitely could use it, in my opinion.
My hope is maybe it is just wishful thinking, but because of the immunity idol and how it interconnects, like it's like, oh, maybe there'll be a tribe swap down to 2 this season, and there'll just be 1 idol. I think after 2 seasons of not having it, like this is so old school, but the first season to do tribe swap was the 3rd season. And obviously the 4th season also did it. I don't know if the 4th season players saw it. They may have seen it right before they went out to film. But the idea of like a swap after not having it could potentially catch some players off guard. And it might be a nice time to throw it back in there. I mean, Survivor used to swap every 2 rounds at one point, and now we can't even get 1 before the merge.
Yeah, I agree to a degree that we've kind of become a little bit like formulaic, and I think that like as far as like the just swapped faces thing, I think a lot of them might come down to going immediately into a challenge rather than having camp life first. I know this is like somewhat common on Survivor, but I never really thought that it ever worked out super well, except for Heroes vs. Villains, which was a returning player season where you didn't really need to like introduce the players. And so I think like getting camp life before jumping into a challenge so that we can actually know who these players are as Jeff is calling out their names during the challenge could be useful, because like Bruce was hurt before we even were told his name, right? like Bruce's fate in the game was sealed before we were even introduced to him, and that just kind of feels off. like doesn't feel like we're really given a story. It kind of feels like it's kind of backwards in terms of like you have to care about who wins this challenge because it's going to affect the start of the game. But it's like I don't know any of these people other than like the 5 minutes we've spent on the mat. So like, why do I care who wins the challenge? And I can't even follow the challenge because I don't even know who the people are who are playing in it. So like, I think that might be a part of it, where it's just kind of a little clunky at the start. And so we really have to like wait until people make themselves known before we can actually get invested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, like you said, it was epic to have it in Heroes versus Villains, but that was because like, but even then, they did like a 10-minute like just talking segment and having the personalities of the players like come out. And I think obviously for them, they're all veterans of the game, sometimes 3-time players in that season. They were more prepared. You get like a little bit of like, oh gosh, I'm a little camera shy. I don't know what to say with the new people. So while they did have some mat chat at the beginning, it wasn't like super dynamic. No one was like making crazy jokes or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the season even opened with them making a joke about how the new players are bad on the camera.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was
peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I do understand a little bit where Carolyn was coming from, where it's like, you just give them a little direction, just like, okay, just say your name, what you're doing, and why you want to be like on Survivor and do well. It didn't seem like they were giving her anything. She was like, what do I say?
Carolyn is like, I talk about like having like that personality. I don't think Carolyn's going to be the personality carrier this season, but she's definitely going to be the one that will probably get the most talking points, especially she's like, I don't know.
She's like the hot mess.
I don't know. She's definitely wild in a few ways. I don't know if they're just like exposing that. Like, or like she's just cleaning up for the camera. I don't know. Definitely not, like I said, the personality that I meant when I just said you need someone to carry your season, but I guess it definitely adds, something there to laugh at. But like, I don't know if I want to like what I'm laughing at. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, she's kind of in the worst position to be in, where she's like aware enough that she's not fitting in and not doing a good job, but not able to like correct it in any way.
Yeah,
she just could see it all falling down around her and she just can't stop it.
Yeah, I like the scene where she was trying to go talk to Helen. Helen was like visibly like looking past her, trying to find like Sarah or somebody to come save her. It was just like it was just so clear that like Helen did not want to be in that conversation at all. And yeah, I don't know. I think like Carolyn could be fun if she's able to sneak into the merge somehow. If they just don't lose, I guess is probably the way that happens. Or maybe she like is, keen enough to play a shot in the dark and it actually matters or something to that effect. Like there's definitely outs for her, but right now, like she's a hot mess, but I don't know how long she's going to be a hot mess.
That's another scenario too, where I feel like if they only just had 2 tribes, I think that she would be a little more intriguing. Like because somebody would use her in some fashion, but when you have such a small starting tribe, they're like everyone's petrified. Clearly, the way we saw that the episode played out in the end, like everyone's so petrified so early on, like no one is going to take the gamble on the crazy lady, which like kind of sucks. I mean, if somebody does, great, because like I said, it's much more intriguing television, but it's another factor with just having 3 tribes at the start that I don't like, especially now after everything we've talked about. I'm definitely more on the anti. Like I really hope they stop it now, because I think that it's so much better with just 2, and you can still keep the game fast paced too at that point too. I wonder why they stay at 3. I don't know like what the specific reason is at that point, to sell more merch with the buffs having 3 instead of 2. Like I don't know. It's like because they know Brian Mara is going to just buy all 3 right away.
Yeah, they came in the mail yesterday actually.
This guy's buying all 3 every year we've done them.
Yep. All 4. I buy the merge buff too when it becomes available.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to have the biggest collection of buffs. I think I have a shot to be that person.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing, I think we've mentioned this before, is like if you have an 18-person season, 3 tribes of 6 is like the most efficient way to start it. And it doesn't seem like they have time anymore to have a 20-person season, and I don't think they want to have a 16-person season anymore for some reason. Even though I think
the metavax is why.
Yeah.
Like, you lose one person in 18, it sucks for sure, but you can keep the round the same. You lose one person in 16, you're really like kind of off kilter, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. You look at like Kagayan, like, even with 18, the reason that ends up being a final 2 is because they had, they lost some people from non-votes. So they were like, okay, well, our schedule is way off now.
Yeah. Actually, so they, excuse me. So I didn't even think about too. I guess the 3 tribe works. I guess I kind of like it when there's a theme to it. When you have like brain versus brawn versus beauty. Like I kind of like that because you're kind of getting the same dynamic on all 3 of those tribes, and like then you get a clash there. But yeah, I guess there is a difference between that and having just 3 tribes of all random people. Like you have no idea how that's gonna work out in the end.
Yeah, but I was so wrong. Like when they announced they were doing numbers, I'm like, that's smart. You don't need themes. And now I'm like, I want a heroes, healers, hustlers. Like I want something to differentiate these seasons a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I think talking it out too. I now think it's like they gotta do like an all-star season of some sort or some sort of returning player season coming up. Just to switch it up in some fashion. At least I hope so.
I feel like next spring they could totally do it. Like do one more newbie season, and then you got 5 completely newbie seasons plus. I don't know if they want anyone from 39 because of everything that happened on that season, but 38 and 37, 36, 35 even. There's a ton of like one-time players who haven't come back. They've only brought winners back from a couple of those seasons for Winners at War. So they have a pretty huge pool of returning players and of people who I think would want to come back.
Even if it's people all from like relatively recent seasons too, of like the seasons that I'm like critiquing, like I still think that having the knowledge and the experience adds a much better element to all that than having like we saw today. That was a chaotic mesh of players that clearly don't have the experience or like know what they're doing and freaking out immediately. Like I think it'd be much nicer to have the people that have gone through that already playing the game than seeing that. I don't know. It could be like that season. I'm forgetting the name of it that you guys always talk about. That was just such a chaotic mess that it was almost good in the end.
Survivor Gabon.
Yeah.
Greatest season of Survivor ever. Yes.
So maybe that's what we'll get here, and I'll be singing a different tune at the end. I don't know. We'll see. I felt like it felt like maybe you're getting a bunch of people that aren't, those Survivor nerds, the super fans, people that were just thrown in to play this reality game on the island, because that's what it seemed like at the end.
I don't know. I think the problem is everyone is too acquainted with Survivor on the cast, and like they get in their own heads.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about Gabon is like I'm fairly certain at least half of the cast had never heard of Survivor before getting on a flight to Africa. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, look, the best case scenario I think is a Gabon or Nicaragua upside, in my opinion. I'm a big, obviously me and Brian both love Gabon, and I'm a very big Nicaragua defender. I know a lot of people hate Nicaragua and think it's a terrible season, but I like Nicaragua a lot. So yeah, I think that like train wreck seasons can be really good if they're like fun train wrecks. This first trial council was kind of a fun train wreck. I'll admit, I didn't expect 3 out of 6 people to vote, and only one of those 3 votes to actually count. I know we're in modern Survivor where there's 4,000 advantages and everyone gets an idol, but like that's still like we haven't really seen that before.
No, this is the optimal tribal council as far as Jeff's concerned. I think, like, he really creamed his jeans during like all of this. But speaking of Nicaragua, the tribal council set really gave me like a lot of flashbacks to Nicaragua. I feel like it's been a while since they really put a ton of effort into the tribal council set, and I was loving it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a medieval theme crossed with like Gates of Hell. It's like very interesting. I prefer any kind of season that like does a different theme that isn't just like, you know, Island Tiki's Take 50.
Yeah, and I mean the medieval theme, like I'm surprised they didn't do it during like Game of Thrones heyday. I guess House of the Dragon, did just come out, so they get a little bit of that. But hey, in our backyard season, Survivor Ellen, we did a medieval theme way before they did. So I don't know what Survivor is waiting on here.
Yeah. And like Sword and Shield immunity necklace idols is really, really, that's neat. I like that a lot. It's unique, right? And Survivor 44, there's not a lot of things that we can point to and say that's unique. So
that's what I'm a big sucker for the seeing what the immunity necklaces look like. I feel like it's like a weird indicator of how the season will go, if it's a cool immunity necklace or not.
No, I agree. I mean, the most like memorable immunity necklaces are usually from seasons that are super like memorable, right? Like, and vice versa, seasons that aren't that memorable. Like, I can't really think of what their immunity necklaces look like.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Dylan's watching Pearl Islands, the immunity necklace in that season is a scabbard.
Yeah,
I know.
Where, like,
sick.
Yeah, so like very unique and like kind of in the same vein as this medieval sword and shield situation.
I would do my typical. I'm watching Survivor, and I'm going to talk about it with you guys too.
Yeah, please do.
It's amazing. It's like right off the bat too. There were like two of the like 4 or 5 players from that season I knew about, but obviously Sandra and Rupert like right away like steal the show and that season,
icons,
like immediately. It's like it's very fun to finally go back and watch now too, between like Sandra speaking the native language and like her directing her tribe right away, Rupert stealing the other team's shoes and starting to barter them. Like it's so cool to finally see, but it's like it's cool in hindsight to see like I said they're like immediately taking over that season. It's very very cool to watch.
Yeah,
it's great. I'm not going to keep comparing current seasons to older seasons, but I'm very very much enjoying my watch. And like even though I know the end result, it's just so great to see the way the game was played back then and how they did things. It's really cool.
Are you saying that modern Survivor doesn't stack up to what's like widely considered to be the best season of the show?
Especially like after I just like partially just shit on the current setup. No, definitely not. I'm still sticking to my guns. My favorite season is probably either Second Chance or Kagyan, but the earlier seasons it's like I know people break them up into certain sections, and it's definitely my favorite of the earlier like first 10 seasons that I've watched. I don't know why I waited so long to watch like the best one. Maybe it's just like
I don't know either. I feel like we told you to watch it.
I don't know. Makes you appreciate it.
You're really hung up on HD versus SD.
I really am. Yeah. I am like, I like pull the chair like right up in front of the just so I get like as much as possible. But I'm getting used to it. But that was a big hold up for me. I really hope they do come out with HD seasons though, because I guess I don't know if they can do it. We've talked about it before whether like
the way it was filmed might be like a bottleneck to how good the resolution can be.
But who knows? I watch TikToks with Trump, Obama, and Biden playing Minecraft.
I was about to say the only way to do it could be AI. They could like up-res it with AI. People, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but people give Rupert a lot of shit. I love Rupert because that man will fucking sell a theme. Every season he's on, he committed 100% to what the producers were trying to sell to the audience, and I respect the hell out of him for that.
Yeah. And like obviously like Rupert 1.0 in Pearl Islands is like the most pure Rupert, right? Like so I think like he's obviously the star of the season, and a lot of the success and like the greatness of that season like hinges around him as a character.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, back to the current season. We did our our weekly tangent to talk about a past season instead of the current one.
Contractually obligated to talk about
obligated tangent. Yeah,
how Survivor used to be so good.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought this episode was pretty solid. It was like, I definitely don't love the number of injuries, but like obviously the show couldn't really do anything about that, and they just had to do what they could with what they were given. But yeah, I thought a lot of people said that the Charlotte Council to them was confusing. I agree with Dylan. I think that it was chaotic, but not confusing. I think everyone's decision made sense, except Jamie's. I mean, but Jamie's made sense in the context of her, because she's like, she definitely seems paranoid, confused, and not like super. I don't want to be a dick, but she doesn't seem very smart. So like,
I don't think you're being a dick at all. I think that she very much is giving the impression she's not.
So like her being the one to like play the shot in the dark on the first tribal for no reason, and then also be the one to be the first in 4 seasons for it to land but not matter. It's appropriate, I think.
Yeah, that was fun.
I guess. So do we want to talk about the tribal now? I guess now that we're in it. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about. Maddie wanted Brandon out because Brandon clearly didn't want to work with Maddie, and everyone else had their self-interest except for Kane. He was like, "Sure, I'll do it," and it bounced back on Maddie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I just want to confirm, because I couldn't tell who was the one who sat out and then told Matthew about that information, because that's kind of important. I think it was Claire, right?
Claire,
yeah, it was Claire. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to double check that. It's good to have on the in case that becomes relevant in future episodes, which I think it might.
Yeah, I liked Claire just being like, "Yo, you." Like, I have no idea what your name is, but here's some info.
I like you.
Yeah.
Here, go stir some shit up with this.
It's fun. It's fun. I'm looking at the cast thing now. That Soka tribe, man, we really didn't spend a whole lot of time with them. I completely forgot about Danny, and I completely forgot about Josh being in this game. Danny Massa and Josh Wilder. I saw their pictures in this casting at first. And I completely forgot they were playing this game.
Yeah, they're
probably the reason Soka won. They're both pretty jacked and were able to get their team out to a big lead.
We do seemingly have potentially a little showmance with Franny and Matt.
Yeah,
that's something.
Not since Taylor and Figgy have we seen a showmance, and that ended really horribly in real life. So hopefully this is better.
Yeah, no, that's kind of that's what those are the 2 things that I'd heard about this season before coming in. Like, I obviously briefly looked over the cast, but the 2 things I knew was a lot of people end up seeing medical, and there was a showmance for the first time in 5 years. Franny is from where I'm from, and I think that like Matt is pretty close to what I would expect to be on Survivor. Like, I saw him and I was like, that seems like, that's pretty much me. So like, I'm rooting for them, and like, hopefully they don't crash and burn, because I like them both.
Maybe these are your parents from the future, and you're like some like weird time travel baby, and you're like witnessing like your soon to be birth come up.
I mean, that would be a twist. That would be a bigger twist than the Survivor's been able to pull off recently.
Yeah,
there's the hints were there, the foreshadowing with the turning back time and all that from the other seasons.
This has been Jeff's long con.
I was the one who used the hourglass twist to come back from 2044.
Matt's going to announce that he's going to move to Cambridge at the end of the season to be the Franny.
It's going to be great.
Yep.
That's hilarious. I already saw someone did the edit of Rob's confessional. Rob and Amber are going to do it with Matt and Franny are going to do it. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, look, I'm all for some dork love on Survivor.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe that's the big change that Survivor will do this season. They'll finally start showing like people making out and like cuddling
Oh,
together.
they've
again.
shown it in the past. You just need to
yeah.
watch a season where.
That's what it's. No, I know. I can't remember any of like the current like recent seasons where there's
No,
been
there's just
any
not
sort
been
of affection at all.
Yeah.
No, it was well, there was in season 35, Cole and Jessica.
Oh, right, Cole and
Yeah,
Jessica.
that not
Yeah.
I don't fault you for forgetting, Brian. And then previous to that, as Brian referenced in 33, we had Figgy and Taylor. So yeah, it's been a while since we've really had kind of showmance.
Yeah.
On Survivor.
Well, it's because we didn't have someone like Michaela to call out how disgusting making out on Survivor is for Cole and Jessica.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess anything from the tribal. I guess we can go through each person and why they did what they did. Because I thought 3 of the 6 of them made the correct decision, which is I guess okay. That's 50% is not nothing.
So I guess in my eyes, I'll start with Lauren. I think Lauren's probably the biggest winner of the whole tribal, in my opinion, because she somehow managed to have no one real. At least I don't think she'll have anybody manage to realize that she didn't cast a vote. She obviously gets to keep that advantage, and especially seeing how she was the one that they were gunning for right after the challenge. She's the definite winner in my eyes, so I'll put her number 1 in terms of who I'm highest on after that.
Yeah, Lauren definitely, in my eyes, kind of fell ass backwards into a really good spot.
Very much so, yeah.
Because this easily could have been her. She didn't really have a ton of control over what was happening. If Maddie hadn't come up with this plan, she probably would have been the one to go home. So she kind of lucked out here in a lot of ways. I do think that Jeff did say with 1 vote, so that should indicate to them that she didn't vote, but her lie to them was that she lost her vote anyways, so it kind of works out, and now she has an extra vote up her sleeve. So yeah, a lot of power. And the other person that I think definitively made a correct decision, somebody who has actually used a shot in the dark strategically, in my opinion, was Matthew, who I think this is probably the first time we've really seen somebody strategically not vote. It's not really been a super much of an option in until recent times, but I think this is the first time where I'm wow, that person didn't vote on purpose, and it was, in my opinion, correct.
I agree. Yeah, I completely agree. I think he realized the situation, even maybe more so than the other people voting realized it. I do kind of wonder. I wonder whether it was the edit, what really gave it away to Brandon that they were potentially going to be voting for him, whether it was Matthew playing his shot in the dark or whether it was Jamie, because I have two very different opinions on Matthew playing and Jamie playing. But I agree. Smart for him because he doesn't have to vote against Brandon. And then obviously smart in the other sense that he can't say that he voted against Maddie or any sort of alliance that was going on there either. So I agree. I would put him at number 2 in standings after that.
Yeah, and then obviously I think Brandon playing the idol and making that read was the other person who I think played correctly. I think what it comes down to, right, is if he's able to understand that potentially only 3 people are voting, one of those 3 people besides him is the person he's voting for. So he's basically entirely reliant on Kane voting with him, and if Kane isn't voting with him, he's probably screwed. So I think that's a pretty good read to have made. And also I definitely think having an idol that everyone knows about is almost worse than not having an idol at all. So it's not the worst if you have an idol and there's even a 10% chance you could get voted out, but just play it, get rid of it, get rid of the target, and move on with your life.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was a great decision for him.
Yeah.
Saved himself. Crazy that just 1 vote at a tribal council. It's so funny. That it's just yeah, just 1. I saw someone, it might have been Mike Bloom, tweeted
Yeah.
that this is the first time where it's like a 1-0. It since like a long time ago, but I couldn't remember. Was it Yao Man? Was that the last time it was a 1-0 vote?
When he idles out Stacy? No, I think I think she got multiple. I think it was 4-2.
Earl voted with him. Maybe,
yeah, so I think he might be reference. I don't know. I'd have to look through.
Yeah, I have to look it up too.
I wish he gave footnotes.
Yeah, me too.
That tweet. But yeah, I mean, this was like definitely like a lot of firsts in terms of this tribal council. Like, obviously, like the number of weird things that happened can only happen really in an era where there's shot in the dark and with like an idol found really fast. So it's going to be rare for something this crazy to happen in the first tribal council, but yeah, I don't really know what else to say at this point, right? Like I feel bad for Kane, who didn't seem like super on board with the plan to begin with, and was just like, it's probably going to be a tie if I don't do this, and I'm just gonna go with it, and then like to have both Jamie and Matthew be like, screw that, I'm not voting. Well, or to be at least have Matthew be like, screw that, I'm not voting, and Jamie to be like, I think that the aliens are going to come down and vote for me, so I'm going to play my shot in the dark. Yeah, it definitely puts him in a horrible spot here. Yeah.
I kind of like tie Kane and Maddie, and like I put Jamie last, even though Maddie was the one that got voted out. Because like I said, I thought Maddie was playing a good game. She just was on the shit end of this, and it all plays back into two. Obviously, people losing their votes this early on, people playing the shot in the dark this early on. I'm never a fan of anybody losing their vote. That's why I'm still like anti-shot in the dark, even though we finally got someone playing it, getting a safe. But it was someone that I think played it the least successfully out of anyone so far. I was kind of not fully paying attention when she said her reasoning for casting the vote. Did she say she was doing it to see if she could trust other people by playing the shot in the dark? Did I mishear that? Like,
I think that was kind of the reasoning, whereas like my vote doesn't matter. Like, I wouldn't read too much into it because it didn't make sense. But like her reason was basically like, my vote won't matter, so like I'm just going to play this, and so like I get that in theory, right? Like, oh, if I'm right, my vote won't matter. But if you're right, then you're just throwing away a shot in the dark.
Yeah. My thought. So the reason why I think that she looks the worst at all this too is that like any sort of hopes of like if I'm Kane or if I'm Lauren at this point, even Matthew too, I'm like looking at her, I'm like, this is probably the least reliable. I forget the woman from last season. She was one of the first early boots too. She was on the same. She was on the Blue Tribe. She had like, remember she was totally safe, and then she broke down at the very end.
Lindsay.
I think it was Lindsay. She kind of gives me those vibes that she's probably gonna be like the least reliable person going into a vote for almost like her entire stay in this game. But the fact that she was that nervous that early on, she just ended up getting very, very lucky that she was going to be safe. And like you said, it wouldn't have mattered in the end. So that's why she's bottom tier for me. Kane's kind of more of like on the nothing for me, because in the end he was just there and he voted wrong. Like you said, he was unsure of the whole thing to begin with. Yeah, Jamie honestly is probably who I'm lowest on heading into next week of like of all the players left. Because it's just if she's cracking that early, then and pulling that, then like it would be tough for me to vote with her. But obviously numbers are numbers, so if you need her, you're gonna pull her in. But yeah, she's down very low for me after that.
Yeah, and I agree that like I don't think that Maddie is like a horrible player, right? Like I think like this almost worked, and if it does work, Maddie is like in a phenomenal spot.
Yeah, in terms of first boots, she's definitely not like someone who if you're like somehow looking at their their stats on paper for first boot, she's definitely higher up in terms of like players I would want to have come back and play again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Brian?
So I was trying to find the 1-0 vote in Survivor
you were
history.
doing the historical check.
I cannot for the life of me find it. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, I can't remember who else got idled out with 1 vote.
Well, wasn't it? It was 2 seasons ago, technically. The season with Lydia Chlamydia. That tribal one, somebody was going to flip. I might be misremembering. We played an idol and voted, and that was the 1 vote. They were out.
You just look up correctly played idols on Survivor, Ryan, maybe?
It definitely was that season. I think that was the 1 vote.
Yeah.
I think. Unless there was a second vote.
Hold on. I'm capturing that. Let me.
I don't remember who did that. Did Lindsay make the move? I don't remember who did that. Like faintly remember what I'm talking about. Somebody pulled like.
Yeah, I don't think that was 1 though. This is riveting.
Yeah, this is no good. We'll come back.
Come back next week. Come back next week.
Yeah, or someone else will let you know.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking maybe was it Lauren Rimmer maybe in HH or in in HHH.
Lauren Rimmer. No, I don't think so. Unfortunately.
Yeah, when I thought one of the Ben Idols canceled all the votes. Yeah, Lauren Rimmer in HHH. It was 6 votes on Ben, 1 vote on Lauren by Ben, and Ben canceled all 6 votes. So I think that's the one you're referring to.
All right.
And that was the final 7. So
there you have it. If you're still here, you got the
we cracked it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, who played a lot of idols when they were on the bottom? And then Ben.
His Ben.
Yeah.
It's just so funny because like a lot of times with that, it's like, well, they'll just split, but they didn't. So let Ben choose who got voted off. Not the smartest bunch in HHH cast, but yeah. So I don't have much else to add. I think we dragged it out as long as we could, quite frankly.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not like totally down on the season. I think that the cast is entertaining enough. I was entertained during it. I'm just my biggest concern is the repetitiveness and obviously the convoluted advantages and stuff like that. But I'm still entertained. We'll still be back here next week. Other than that, it's still I still like it more than 41. So that's a plus.
That's good.
Remember, I was very low in 41.
Well, yeah, I thought the tribal council was crazier than I expected it to be for sure. I think the cast has upside. I think that the theming is really neat. So I definitely think I'm like cautiously optimistic that we could get some good stuff here. I know that the producers in hyping up the show have been basically being like, yeah, we all know that 43 was kind of dog shit, but trust us, 44 is way better. So I'm hoping that it's just not like, a bunch of hot air.
Me too.
I am not to promote another pod. I am going to check out Jeff's official Survivor podcast to see the things he talks about in that. I wonder if he's just going to do like a 50-minute like dissection of what went on with Bruce and his head injury and like.
I think it'll be most useful for behind the scenes stuff. I can't imagine Jeff is going to say anything bad about a season while it's airing.
I wonder if, because I just imagine like somebody like getting injured in the middle of the night on Survivor and Jeff just like waking up out of his bed immediately.
Took up the massage.
He's just sprinting. Yeah.
He's the one waking up the crew. Just like his sixth sense is just kicking in.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I'm on Survivor and I'm getting medevaced,
Mhm.
I think Jeff giving me a back massage as I'm getting medevaced makes that worse. But maybe that's just
Speak for yourself. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well,
Jeff's only massaged so many backs on Survivor, man.
true. I guess it's a rare club.
Mhm.
I saw his body in 2.5 Men. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing I need though is when I'm laying down in the gurney is to be like popping a half chub.
Yeah.
That's true. True. Yeah. Bruce needed to keep all the blood in his head.
Oh God.
He could have.
All right, we've gone off the tracks here.
The hour mark is about where it completely
that's where we
goes off the rails.
Yeah.
No offense to certain municipalities right now, but yeah.
Bad month for rail jokes.
Yeah, really bad month for rail.
I didn't even get
An
it at
impressively
first. Wow.
horrific month to be making
Wow.
these jokes.
Yeah.
Shout out to East Palestine.
Also Greece right now.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, that's ending the show on a high note.
I mean, look, the episode was very morbid. A lot of people got fucking hurt. So
very true. All right, yeah. Follow me on Twitter, DJ Clubberlang. I'm just tweeting stuff. Follow me there. I hope to do more with my life soon, but I'll talk about it there.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Ben Sharon, where I will probably not be using the platform very often because I've basically stopped using it in the last few months because it's kind of turned into a pile of shit. And also, like, the reason that I was going to get back on it was to live tweet about BBCan 11, which I will now not be watching. So, yeah.
Yeah, tough. No live feeds there, so we won't be covering it. I know we said we would. The last time we were recording, we're not doing that now. So more time to just focus on Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at the Fake BMAR, BMARR. Also, if you like watching people suffer, I'm doing a Last of Us podcast on the channel. It's called Worth Fighting For. A lot of suffering, a lot of blood in that as well. So, it's a Venn diagram between the two shows right there. It's been very good. Check that out. And then very frequently uploading on the Wicked Good Sports channel. So if you like sports, check that out.
Yeah, I mean, who's been suffering from more shortness of breath? Is it Joel or Brandon?
Well, it's close, that's for sure.
Yeah. So tune in and find out. Great show. I've been loving The Last of Us, so definitely check out that podcast.
It's amazing. I mean, the game is amazing. And the show's also amazing.
Look, I think pretty universally accepted at this point to be the best video game adaptation into a television show.
Oh yeah, not even close.
Yeah. Speaking of Pedro Pascal, first episode of Mandalorian was good. I liked it.
Oh my god, yeah, that came out too. It's too much to watch, but I can't wait to. Yeah, and if anyone didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, probably should have before the new episode of Mandalorian.
Yep. John Favreau confirmed that there was 2 years of time that elapsed in between Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, so just further the confusion. But in the end, it's just a Star Wars show, so I'm not really dissecting it that much.
Yeah, no, I saw that too, and I was like, I'm gonna ignore that because that makes no sense.
Yeah, imagine being the person that didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, and you're like, what the fuck? What happened?
Yeah, I can't imagine. All right, thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll be back next week.